Good evening. I hope you all are well. I hope that today is the day, because the day isn't over, that we will find summer. So as you can see, I made a little PowerPoint. I'm really embarrassed about my stream, my last stream, because I realized when I watched it back, um, and I usually don't really do that much, but I did watch part of it back, and I was like, wait, why aren't I talking? Where's my voice? And I realized that I didn't add my audio to the stream. So that's what happened there. If you happen to be in on that one the other night and you were like, hello, where are you? So that's what happened. But hello, Anita. I see you there in the chat, but that was at 8:45. So I don't know if you're still here. Please identify yourself if you are in the building. So I'm going to be sharing this PowerPoint with you, and it's got a lot of new pictures of beautiful summer, as well as a lot of interesting information that I want to talk to you all about. And I am going to be also, I'll put the link so that if you want to join, you are welcome to do so. I don't think I'll do that quite yet. We'll wait until we get through some of this content, okay? So let us start with this brand new Amber Alert collage here that I saw that Don posted on his Facebook. He's been posting like a madman today, just picture after picture after picture of summer, and they're beautiful. They are. And this is just my opinion, you guys, and please, I don't mean, it is going to sound disrespectful, but to me, it's too late. This is what, in my opinion, a father would have done right away. So it's a little questionable. It took him a while to realize how he should be acting, and for me, that's a red flag. And hello, Kelly, I see you there. Thank you from Arkansas. Welcome. Glad to have you. So anyway, that's what that photo is, the upper left hand. And as you can see, it's got some pretty butterflies on it. It's got the information about how to contact the TBI. And that is, of course, only if you have a credible tip, right? So we're not going to make calls about, I think this happened and my dog had a dream and stuff like that. Okay, because that gets them all fumbled up. So I have to check out all of the tips that they get. And if they're not legit, it's a waste of time. All right, so summer moon. What do we know and what do we not know, right? So let's look at some of the facts. And I'm going to play this cute little video of her while I talk. I wish that, oh, here, let me move it because it's in my way right now. Okay. So on 5/26, this little video of summer was posted of her dancing in the rain. It's just precious. It's beautiful. She just looks carefree and lovely and happy. But I'm going to say a couple things about it. It's odd to me because of that barrel in the background that says for sale. And I know that's not a fact, that, or at least not yet, a fact that it was in fact advertising summer, but it's creepy. It's creepy because it was posted on 5/28 and then the child went missing or got gone as they say, by June 15th. Could be a total coincidence, but I'm just saying. All right, next. It has been, and correct me if I miscounted here, 52 days since Summer was reported missing on 6/15/2021. And the dispatch call indicates that Candace went for a walk. And I know that this has been a discussion amongst many that, well, some have called it the 911 call. No, we have not heard a 911 call. The allegations that have been made by Don and Candace are that they both called 911. Don says he called 911. Candace says she called 911. Don says he was at work when he called. Candace said that she called from Grandis's phone, which we still don't understand, or I still don't understand anyway, why she would have to call from another phone. Yeah, I still don't get that. I thought any phone could make a 911 call, but that's just, it's speculation. It's a question that I have. And I see I didn't put it over here. But another question that I have is who, in fact, did make the 911 call and what time was it exactly? Did Candace or Don state in the 911 call that Candace went for a walk, or where did that come from? And is that even significant? I don't know, but it's just a question that I have. Why would that have been said when we hear from Candace, she clearly states, I do not go on walks. I was not on a walk. I was fixing up my mom's knee brace, right? So is it significant? I'm not sure, but it's a discrepancy. It's a question. Okay. Next, Summer, Candace, and Grandis were on the facts, boy. By the way, again, Summer, Candace, and Grandis and Hunter were out from 8 a.m. until at least 2 p.m. Hunter was picked up around 10 to 10:30, so he didn't start off with them right in the morning, we know. So we know that's a fact because that's been verified by Candace and Hunter, or we're assuming that it's a fact because it's been verified by the two. Now they differ on some things here. So Hunter says that Candace gave him a vape and a twisted tea that day, whereas Candace, of course, she's now saying that he stole it. My question is, why two different stories about that? I guess I could understand why. I understand why Hunter would say, well, she gave it to me. If he did in fact steal it, because why would he out himself and say, yeah, I stole it? But Candace denies that he even got the twisted tea. I believe she just says that he stole the vape. And is she lying about that to avoid any sort of charges around that? Okay. And next, they did go to several locations that day, including a grocery store, a pharmacy, a smoke shop, and a swimming hole. Those are all verified. What is in question is the order in which they went to those places, because what Candace has said and Hunter has said has differed. In addition, Hunter says that Summer went underwater for several seconds and that he jumped in to help her. Now, my question about that, because Candace has denied it, why would he lie about something like that? I don't understand. Does anyone have any ideas? Can anybody hear me? Okay, next. All right, some more of what we know and what we don't. Some more facts. So both Don and Candace do have criminal records. We know this, right? Some of Don's charges are burglary and fugitive from justice. And I'm going to show you a video that talks about some of those. Next, well, related to that allegation, okay, Don's stepsister and niece have stated in interviews that once Don attempted to exchange his two young children for drugs, and these being his two oldest children, who are now adults. Now that would have been over 20 years ago. Okay. And again, this is an allegation, but why would someone make that up? Hi, New Zealand Mysteries. Welcome. I'm glad to have you. I've got a small group today. Bring some people over. Okay. Don is also accused of, oh, wait, I skipped one. Candace filed for an order of protection after Don's arrest in October of 2020. Okay, and we know that this happened. My question about that, of course, is why did she drop it? Don is also accused of SA by his stepsister, niece, and a third woman. Okay, so three people. And Don has admitted to having a quote unquote relationship with his stepsister. And there is a 5 to 7 year difference. Oh, there's a lot of lives right now. Okay. Hey, Rose, what's up? Okay. So, anywho, also Candace's uncle is a registered SO with an extensive record, as well as Don's oldest son is a registered SO. Summer's brothers, as you know, were removed by Child Services in mid-July. Okay, back to some allegations. So these are things that people have said that we cannot verify, but we can take the facts and add some speculation to it and come up with some questions. Okay. So Trish stated that her cousin Donnie told her that he has gone 3 days without food. And this was when he was 8 years old. And those two were around the same age. Trish says that they were pretty much besties back then in the day. And so Trish was very privy to what happened in his life. They both spent a lot of time at their grandparents' house. And so she, had firsthand knowledge of what was going on with him. She also was under the understanding. Now this one was very strange. And this is more not a firsthand account because it's what was told to Trish. So a family member told Trish that Don and Candace also had another daughter who was actually given up for adoption. So, questions. Are there other victims out there that would say that Don did something to them? I pray not. If there are, I hope they come out. Why would Candace drop the order of protection? And we're going to get into some of that in a little bit. Why were the boys removed from the home and what took so long? Okay. I think that, a lot of speculation has gone around about how the home looks, right? So, for example, oh, look at her. That's a new picture. So pretty. So pretty. But many of the photos that I see, it's just a mess. I mean, it's just a mess. The house is dilapidated. And I understand that they they don't live in the lap of luxury, like that's fine. Um, but it looks unsanitary. It looks unsanitary. However, it's been like that for a while. And from what we have known, and this is another application, child services has been involved for a while. And so the question is, why, why now? Oh, Susie Q. Okay. Don bought Candace the car after order of protection and made up. Oh, Susie Q. Is that a fact? Oh, yes, I'm sure there's much worse. Um, I'm just gonna tell you, I don't know if you've seen all the pictures, but yeah, there's pretty bad. There's more pictures that Don has posted himself that I'm surprised he doesn't realize are going to draw a lot of attention. Okay, so I'm gonna play Plunder's video here. And please let me know if you can hear the audio and if everything's kosher with it, okay? Because I'm technologically challenged. Oh my gosh. All right. No sound. Thank you. Mm, this is making me so mad. Okay, let me try again. Can you hear it now? Can you hear it now? Dang, that is so weird. How do I do it? Okay. Well, I'm going to just give you the Cliff's notes on that one then. Oh, that's frustrating because it embedded into here and I don't understand why I know, damn technology. I thought I was doing so well. Mm, mm, mm. All right. So anyway, she talks about the police reports and so a couple of the charges I know were burglary and a fugitive from justice. The fugitive from justice was from, I believe, 2001, and it was a situation where he was in parole violation because I think he wasn't supposed to be in Tennessee at that time, and it was a violation from Utah. So that's what that's about. And then she goes to talk about the night that he was arrested in 2020 for, and I don't know, now I don't know what the charges were for. Should I listen and report back to you? Oh my gosh. Let me see if I can, like, nope. All right, we're gonna stop sharing that, and we're going to go to the actual video because that just ticked me off. You know what? Let's just do entire screen. Let's do share audio. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna go to YouTube. Okay, yes, I was watching Web Sleuths. I love that channel. I love it so much. Thunder's another one of my faves. Okay, so this is the video that I have linked and what I embedded and what would not play the sound. Let's see if I did it right here. I know I clicked on share the audio, which I did last time too, so I don't know. Here we go.
The Suicide Squad in theaters and on HBO Max. I'm a superhero!
Subscribe to Plunder.
Okay, we're gonna speed it up a little bit, guys. And we're gonna pass.
56-year-old found hiding in a storage room. I wonder if police have checked that storage room now, 20 years later, or summer. Back to the affidavit. After checks through the NCIC computer, a hit was confirmed that the subject was wanted for parole violation out of Utah, and it was confirmed that Utah would extradite. The subject was then taken into custody and charged with being a fugitive from justice that occurred in Rogersville, Hawkins County, Tennessee. That arrest warrant citation was signed on August 13th, 2001. Now, according to WJHL, Donald Wells told the outlet about his criminal past. It's in the past, and we'll leave it there. The publication says that in Arkansas, Donald was charged with possession of a controlled counterfeit substances without a prescription and burglary between the years 2006 and 2007. However, for his earlier charges, information was obtained from KTVX showing that Donald Wells faced multiple charges in Utah all the way from 1990 through 2001. Wells was charged with attempted aggravated assault, interfering with a public servant, forgery, burglary of a dwelling, and theft in the state. But
holy mackerel. So that was, yes, it's in the description, New Zealand. Betty Joe, did you just say there's still no sound? Y'all let me know. Did you just hear it or not? Somebody talk to me. There was? Okay, great. Oh my gosh. All right. So if you heard some of those charges, type them in the chat for me, will ya? Let me back it up a little bit.
Wells was charged with attempted aggravated assault, interfering with a public servant, forgery, burglary of a dwelling, and theft in the state. But when the press tried to press him for details again, Donald said, "It's in the past, and we'll leave it there." Donald spoke out a little bit more about the incident that happened in October 2020, when he was charged with domestic assault, possession of a handgun while under the influence, and unlawful possession of a weapon following an incident with Candace Bly. Donald told the publication it was some big misunderstanding between him and Candace. "We worked it out. She's apologized to me," he said. She went to the district attorney. She even went to the judge and told them she made a serious mistake, and that's the end of it. It was in April of this year that Donald pled guilty to possession of a handgun while under the influence, and the other charges were dismissed. However, what was actually filed, the state of Tennessee versus Donald Wesley Wells, it was filed on October 15, 2020, was a report alluding to what police say the 6 feet tall, 215 pounds white male born on November 14th, 1964, with white hair and blue eyes just like Summer, what they say he did. His work is listed as a drywall contractor. The affidavit of complaint states that on October 14, 2020, deputies were dispatched to 110 Ben Hill Road in Rogersville, Tennessee for a domestic with assault. Upon turning onto Ben Hill Road, I observed a white GMC Sonoma pulling onto Beach Creek Road. I turned my floodlights on, revealing a male behind the wheel to be later identified as Donald Wells. Deputies proceeded onto the scene and spoke with a victim, Candace Bly, and two witnesses, Jose Roman More on him later in Candace Harrer. Bly stated that her husband Donald Wells left in a white GMC Sonoma. Shortly after, Deputy Winter advised that a white truck was coming back up the driveway. I heard the family members begin to fear for his return and heard a member utter that there was a firearm in the vehicle. A felony stop was conducted in the driveway and Wells was detained. When detaining Wells, I observed a strong odor of alcoholic beverage coming from his person and was stumbling when he was picked up off the ground. Wells stated that there was a firearm in the truck, but it was a black powder pistol in the glove box. Wells went on to say that he was a felon from charges in Utah and has had some to drink tonight. Deputy Winter located a firearm in the vehicle. I spoke with Bly and witnesses about the assault. Bly stated that Wells came home drunk. He saw Jose in the house and believed Bly was cheating on him. Allegedly, Wells started to argue with Jose, and Wells began to struggle with Bly. Bly was pushed down, causing damage to her left knee. Bly and witnesses stated that Wells began punching himself in the face and then left. Wells was taken to the Hawkins County Jail for booking. Now, we've heard that name Jose before during an interview with Candace's friend or ex-friend Allie when Allie spoke with YouTube creators Unmasked. Candace's former friend Allie explained more about who Jose was to the women. Candace crossed the line, Allie said. Allie shares a 15-year-old son with a guy who brought 14 people down from New York to Tennessee with him, and one of those 14 people was Jose. Candace allegedly started, quote, putting the moves on Jose, according to Allie. Apparently, Allie was with Jose first, but Candace stole him? Whatever happened, it caused a falling out between the two women and ultimately caused the huge domestic incident that happened in October of 2020. Allie says that Jose is a 43-year-old man who said to her 16-year-old daughter, "What am I to you?" Allie didn't like that, a 43-year-old man allegedly addressing her 16-year-old daughter that way. In the end, Allie and her friend Leslie surmised that Jose himself, instead of being famous for being on the TV show titled Deadliest Catch, was himself a deadly catch. Overall, this Wells family home doesn't seem like a stable environment for the 5-year-old Summer Wells, reading through these police reports. I've requested more information about...
And that's what I was going to say, y'all. What do you imagine that those three little boys and Summer were doing during this whole altercation in that tiny house that is under 800 square feet? Because that sounds like quite the to-do. And then I'm wondering, honestly, with this happening, and is that when CPS became involved, or were they involved before that? Thank you, Kelly. Yes, domestic assault. Um, he's just got so much going on. Trying to hide in the basement. Yeah. All right, let's see what else she's saying.
About the protective order that Candace Bly requested but then dropped against Donald Wells. We know that she wrote that Donald Wells drinks and throws things, that she's afraid of being hurt. She wrote, "He is abusive physically and mentally towards me. I am afraid for my children and myself. My mother fears he is going to hurt her because she is staying in her camper on the property." She had requested no contact with her or her children under 18, either directly or indirectly, by any means, phone, email messages, text messages, mail, anything, and to order Donald Wells to stay away from her home and her workplace and from coming about by any purposes, but just...
Okay, so I hear a lot of people, and I get it. I get it that it is speculation. It is a leap to go from everything that we know, the facts that we know about Donald, to, okay, he had something to do with the disappearance of his daughter. But they're adding up every day, every single day in this case. There are new facts that add up against Don and his own behavior, what comes out of his mouth, what people say about him. And again, I'm going to say, I haven't heard anyone come out and say, Don is a great man. He is a wonderful father. I don't think for 1 second he did anything having to do with this disappearance. Now, I know that his ex-wife, who is to this day, my understanding, a serious drug addict and homeless. So that may speak to her credibility, not being judgmental, just using discernment. If you are a known drug addict and homeless, chances are your word may not be extremely credible. But she has said that Don and Candace love Summer very much. Okay. But other than that, and even if the church people are brought up, and this is my understanding, I could be wrong, but I don't think any of those people really know the Wells very much. I know that Robin and Don had not been to the house prior to that day. So how close really were they? It's very different to know someone, for a couple hours every Saturday that you attend church and to really know someone. We've heard from people that really know the family, and they do not have good things to say.
Just a few days after that, it was dropped. Donald Wells has a son who is also named Donald Wesley Wells, so it's easy to kind of mix up their criminal history unless you're looking at the birth dates. Donald Wesley Wells was born on December 6, 1986. He's currently 34 years of age, white male. He got in trouble for the solicitation of a child. The prosecutor's short report of circumstances notes that despite what the older Donald Wells said when he spoke with a reporter and he tried to explain away his son's charges by claiming there was only 18 months difference between his son and the girl in question.
And just a side note, I heard Don say that with my own ears. He tried to explain away these charges. And with the defendant being older than 18 and having sex with a 14-year-old girl, that's not kosher. But Don tried to downplay it, just like he does with every fact, and allegation that speaks negatively on him.
Instead, we can tell that was a lie. According to the prosecutor's short report of circumstances, it happened on February 14th, 2005, Valentine's Day, as it were. The defendant was older than 18. He had, in essence, statutorily assaulted this 14-year-old girl. So that means Donald Wesley Wells was 19 years of age on that date, and the girl, the victim, was only 14. That's a 5-year age difference, not 18 months, as Donald Wells tried to explain away to a reporter and even offered up his son to call the reporter to explain.
The situation that occurred in October, the domestic arrest, and then the order of protection that your wife filed, which she dismissed. I saw that. But, yeah. Would you like to address that and tell me what happened there?
Well, I don't know. I really want to, but I mean, my intention.
You didn't plead to the domestic stuff. You pled to the possession of a gun while intoxicated. So
yeah,
the domestic stuff.
I mean, I've kept a black powder gun, the whole time I've been here because we do have bears, and I thought if there was an emergency situation, one of my kids was being hurt or something, I would have quick access to it being locked up in my truck.
Right.
And I just forgot about the part that you can't have it in your vehicle. I can have one in my home, but not in my vehicle. And I just that part kind of slipped my mind.
I guess there was like there was a accusation.
Well, my wife was trying to make me jealous so I'd come back, and it worked very well. So yeah, I come across the country as fast as the truck would go.
So she wanted you to come home and was
yeah, exactly.
But there was kind of a confrontation though that when the police get involved, and that puts up to the next level, I guess you say.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of the things,
And
she thought I was out there at Utah, and I was at my sister's house, and she was having a party, and I was trying to tell her that I was at my sister's house at this party, and me and my son Josie was getting some food, and I told her I need to go. What I was trying to tell her was I need to go get in bed so I could drive to Park City that morning because there was all kind of work out there, and I had they give me a good job out there. And what she heard was something totally different. Where we are partying and getting drunk or whatever, and she heard Lynn's voice in the background. She heard I got to go so I can continue partying is what she heard. But that wasn't the case. And I was, and I didn't elaborate a whole lot to her. So she thought she was thinking the worst, and that, actually I was just trying to get in bed where I could go to work. We was just getting some food and saying hello to my sister and everything like that, but she thought it was something totally different, and I understand that now. We didn't communicate as well as we should have,
When I asked the sheriff about all this stuff, he said it was not relevant to the investigation, but now that it's all coming out, I wanted you to be able to clear the air before.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
Before that there's going to be so much speculation, especially that order of protection. That was not that wording was not good. It said she's fears for her safety, her mother's safety, and the children's safety.
Yeah, that she, there was so much confusion when I first got back. She was still thinking on them same lines, and I didn't know anything about that until we was able to sit down and talk about every little thing that had happened. Then we started figuring out, and I was able to explain to her that wasn't the case. And just like I'm telling you now, I mean, we discussed all this and was like, well, what if we was both thinking in totally different directions, and was able to figure it all out. And, we had the order of protection. I mean, it was just a fight between me and her friends and her mother. And they knew I had the black powder pistol and my crowbar, so they used that against me.
How long have you been married?
I'm not sure. It's been since Summer was a baby, I think.
Yeah.
Or, it's been so long ago. It was at a friend of mine's house, Mrs. Trent. I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I'm not.
The man really doesn't know how long he's been married. Now, I know that men forget things, but he said it was when Summer was a baby. So that had to have been under 5 years ago. That's not that long ago. I'm just saying. You couldn't take a guess?
Give a date, something like that. I got
when Summer was a baby, so probably 5 years or so. Well, here's another sticky one. That the situation with your oldest son, and his previous criminal history, and his conviction as a sexual offender against children. That's a pretty big red flag, and I asked you about that the first time we spoke.
Yeah. Well, let me elaborate if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, if here in Tennessee, say for instance, your boy or one of your kids, is 17, and the one who's with, say he's 18 and she's 17 or something like that. Okay, in other states, especially like Utah, you're probably not going to ever get out of prison. I mean, but here in Tennessee, they look at there's got to be so many years difference between them. Okay, but in Arkansas, where he was arrested, they don't care about that. But here in Tennessee, he would have never went to jail, and he would have got to raise his boy, and everything probably would have been fine. But in Arkansas, total different story. I mean, there's got to be a certain amount of years between them. And there was only 18 months, maybe a year, I don't know, between them.
Or was that a situation like she was like 16 or 17? And he was
like 18 or 19, and she was, it was only like 18 months difference.
Wow.
No.
Yes, sir.
That
they had a baby.
Look a lot worse.
Yes, it does, and it's wrong. It is wrong. There's a lot of, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well,
I'll even have him call you if you want me to, and he could probably explain it better to you.
Well,
he's a good kid.
When we spoke the first time, you said that you talked. You said that you talked to him and that he was in Utah when it all happened.
No, they was in Arkansas.
Oh, he was in Arkansas when this all happened.
Yes, sir, and he's done time in Arkansas State Prison.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, when Summer went. When Summer went.
Oh yeah, he's in Utah. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think the police have already alluded to this, but there's no connection between him and what happened.
No way he would ever even think of something like this. I mean, when I first told him, he bawled like a little baby.
Well, do you want to talk about what happened to you in Utah? What your previous criminal history was?
I really don't want to talk about all that stuff. And, Utah's a whole different ballgame than Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Mormon state. I call it the moron state. Sorry.
Yeah.
So his criminal activity is not the problem, it's the state's problem. Okay, so he minimizes everything that he possibly can that is an allegation toward him.
I mean, that's just how I feel.
Well, what was your conviction for?
I've had, several charges over the years. I used to have, I don't know if I should elaborate on any of that, but I just.
Okay, it's your choice. I'm not gonna go.
It's not anything good. I never used to be. I wasn't really a Christian when I was younger, and I found God in prison. I started studying the Bible intently because I wanted to change, and that's when I got to know God and became a real trying hard to be a Christian. And of course, I backslid multiple times, but I'll never let it happen again.
Okay. Well, I'm only asking because I just want to give you an opportunity to clear the airs, and I think it's as this goes longer and longer, the reporters are going to need more things to write about or do on this.
Yeah.
And so eventually this is going to come around. So Wes, I just wanted to give you a chance to get ahead of it. Head it off at the pass. I can understand how a person isn't the same person they were when they're in their 20s.
Right.
But it's gonna come out eventually the longer this goes on. So I want to give you an opportunity to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Okay.
And so this is your opportunity.
Okay.
Is that all? So is that all that you wanted to say about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right. And believe me, it don't give me no pleasure to talk about this because as far as I'm concerned, you're the victim, your wife's the victim, your kids are the victims. But it's not going to this isn't going to be brushed over at this point, I don't think.
Right. No, not at all.
So I know.
Keep in mind, because just when Don was talking about how he found God, and he was honest actually that he's quote unquote backslidden a number of times, and that's pretty much par for what his niece and stepsister have said, that he's been in and out of jail as long as the niece has been alive. She said as long as she's known him, he's been in and out of jail. And anytime that he got out, it was like, now I'm on the straight and narrow. And he has used religion to try to show that. So why are we to believe that now it finally took, when we know that numerous times he was not successful and he backslid and went back to his old, addictive ways and so forth.
And it's going to be discussed and going to be the topic of discussion.
Yeah, people can speculate all they want. That's fine. We just want our summer back. She was definitely, I consider it a great blessing from God. She was a daddy's girl. She wouldn't even go to her mother for the first year, and it just kind of broke her heart. But I've never seen.
Who says that? Why would he say that? I'll tell you why. Because it's a narcissistic trait. I'm not diagnosing him as a narcissist. There are many people who have narcissistic traits who are not, who do not have narcissistic personality disorder. Okay, so there's a difference. But that definitely is a narcissistic trait, to basically talk about how, you are admired, and making other people seem like they are less than you. And he's brought this up a couple times in this interview as well as in the interview with Chris.
Anything like that in my life, and I never expected anything like that. And
there's always a connection between a father and a daughter that's special.
Yeah. I've just never seen nothing like this, and I don't know why she was like that exactly, but she's got her little friends too, younger boys that she wants to be with them all the time, and stuff.
Whoa.
The Hansons are going wherever the...
Hold up. This man just made a comparison to Summer's little male friends. Did y'all hear that? That was bananas. So right after talking about his special relationship with her, he said, I mean, she's got her little male friends too, or something. What in the world, Don? I got to hear that again, but we got to pass this ad
The
first.
open road takes them, and no matter where they end up, they'll be about 10 minutes from a hotel by Wyndham. With over 6,000 hotels you can...
And I knew, I've just never seen nothing like this, and I don't know why she was like that exactly, but I mean, she's got her little friends too, younger boys that she wants to be with them all the time,
Younger boys that she wants to be with.
stuff. And I knew, someday she's gonna grow up and get married and go on, raise her own family, but now I just don't know what's, I mean, I did, where she's at, and he's got her.
I know it's a nightmare, and I didn't want to have to broach these subjects, but I knew that it was coming. It would come eventually. You're going to be asked.
She has such a good, loving, kind heart. She just, she's so loving. I mean, it's like God sent him an angel.
Well,
it hurts so bad.
It was all lies, and there are young women involved. Now, Candace is not a clean whistle. She does have charges out of Wisconsin. The state of Wisconsin versus Candace R. Bly states that Candace was found guilty of the following charges, but one or more of the other charges in the case were dismissed. They were dismissed charges not proven, have no legal effect, and Candace Bly is presumed innocent of the dismissed charges, but she was found guilty of battery, a Class A misdemeanor in Wisconsin statutes. She was found guilty of disorderly conduct, another Class B misdemeanor in that instance. And she was found guilty of disorderly conduct with
Those
domestic
stickers on her
modifier,
face.
a Class B misdemeanor. Of course, all these arrests and criminal histories do not mean that Candace Bly nor Donald Wells had anything at all to do with the disappearance of Summer Wells. However, just like in a police investigation, investigators start at the home, the center of the wheel, as it were, and examine everything going outward, working their way out like spokes on the wheel, checking off each suspect or person of interest as they are able to eliminate them. Thus far, law enforcement has only stated that everyone is a suspect and everyone is a person of interest. The only other documentation I've found thus far out of Utah regarding Donald Wesley Wells as a defendant is an order granting leave of court to file a dismissal of the UFAC complaint. So Donald got out of Utah, but unfortunately he couldn't stay out of trouble. And just as early as 8 months prior to Summer Wells being reported missing, there was still trouble and strife in the home. On June 12, 2020, Candace Bly posted to Facebook expletives cursing out someone for calling the cops and or Child Protective Services, saying that person better watch it. Karma's you know what, and it's going to get you. What looks like karma has come back on Candace in that instance. Several people have noted on Facebook, on YouTube, they are saying they were so disturbed and troubled after visiting the Wells home that they did in fact contact Child Protective Services against the couple. We don't know how many people called. We don't know exactly why they called, but all we know is it seems Summer fell through the cracks, unfortunately. On August 7th, 2019, Candace Bly posted to Facebook a popular meme. I will put you in a trunk and help people look for you. Stop playing with me. Under the light of Summer Wells still being missing as of this recording, Wednesday, July 21st, it just hits different. It hits differently. It hits wrongly. It makes people wonder what happened to Summer Wells. 1 John 1:7. But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus, his son, purifies us from all sin. We pray that Equisert.
All right. Oh boy. G5, what? What? Play what again? Was it the part about the voice? It was way back here.
When they're in their 20s.
Right.
But,
yes. She was definitely, I consider it a great blessing from God. And the daughter, she was a daddy's girl. She wouldn't even go to her mother for the first year, and it just kind of broke her heart. But I've never seen anything like that in my life, and I never expected anything like that. And there's
always a connection between a father and a daughter that's special.
Yeah. I've just never seen nothing like this, and I don't know why she was like that exactly, but I mean, she's got her little friends too, younger boys that she wants to be with.
Okay. She's got her little friends too, younger boys that she just wants to be with.
And stuff. And I knew, someday she's gonna grow up and get married and go on, raise her own family.
Oh my gosh, I just can't. Oh, okay. Well, I played it again and again. All right, let's see if we can get back to my little PowerPoint here and see if that will work. Oh, I should have just share audio. I'm going to share window. There. Okay. So, well, that didn't work. Okay. This is something else that I wanted to address because there's a video going around by Don Buchanan, very widely viewed, where he says, and I could be wrong about the picture that he's talking about because he doesn't show the picture that he's talking about, but I believe that this is the picture that he's talking about. He talks about a still picture of when Summer is leaning up against the milk and she's in the truck, and he says that behind it is Candace's red Subaru, which is what Don says he was driving that day. Okay, which would then, he had this whole theory, which would then mean that these two were together at the point that this picture was taken, obviously. But I'm telling you that that is not a truck back there. That is a plastic tote, like one of those Rubbermaid totes. See that? You see the lid? And this is the back of the truck. This is the bed of the truck. And then you can see that there's a blue tote behind it. What do y'all think? Hi, Trixie Blue. What y'all think about that? Who makes you sick? Don or the other Don? Which Don? Both? I'm just kidding. I like Don Buchanan. I like his channel. And I do watch it and I am subscribed, but I just had to, when he made that video, I was like, I don't, and like I said, I could possibly have the wrong photo, or the photo that he's discussing may have been photoshopped, but this is the photo that I know of that sounded like he was referencing. And there is in fact a red something in the back there. It's not a car. It's not a truck. It's a tote. So just wanted to clear that up. Because we want to look at facts here. We don't want to be speculating, and my dog is in the background snoring as he does during every evening live stream that I do. Okay, so, this is going to be fun, guys. How to spot a narcissist. Okay, so a narcissist is going to be grandiose, okay? He's never wrong, or she. Has to be the center of attention. Now, keep in mind, I want you to keep Don in mind here. I want you to keep in mind his posts on Facebook, his numerous posts on Facebook, okay? Also, I want you to keep in mind, if you watch the interview of Trish, okay, his niece, she was talking about a time that, hi, Skyzy, that Don was doing some work on a home. He was like renovating something, and she pointed out how he just had to be in control of that whole situation. It had to be his way or the highway. He was going to do it his way, and that was it. And then what ended up happening is it never got done because he ended up going on a bender and going back to jail. So anyway, that speaks to possibly his arrogance, which is on here, lacks sympathy for others. Now, I don't know if that's the case. I can't say that I've seen that, other than the fact that we haven't seen him really show much emotion. He looks kind of down, kind of calm, but I really haven't seen sadness from him. Trish has said that the only emotion she's ever seen from her uncle is anger. Often irresponsible for money. Okay, lots of people can be irresponsible with money, but right now we're looking at Don. It would seem that perhaps he is irresponsible with money because we know the condition of their living space, but then we also know that he has this $600 car payment that he keeps bringing up that he can't afford. Blames others for failures. And he does. If you've been watching his Facebook posts, and if you haven't, I encourage you to go back and look, but he's deleted a lot of them now. Puts down others to feel superior. So I feel like he sort of did some of that in talking about Candace, a couple times. Okay, so let's look at abusive behaviors of narcissistic parents. Neglecting. I think it's pretty safe to say that the children are potentially experiencing some type of neglect. What you may also see is manipulation, dependency. Of course, the kids are too young to be really speculating about that at all. This concerns me, and we of course haven't seen him or known of him to do this. But this is very concerning. If Don in fact does have a narcissistic personality, then he may punish children for pleasure and insult a child at home or in public. Ignoring a child's personal boundaries. That's scary. Lying, gaslighting. Okay, so a form of manipulation where you start doubting your own memory. Common ways to do this are lying, contradiction, persistent denial, and misdirection. I have no idea if that is present in his relationship with his children, but I know that he does this when he is confronted with actions that he has taken or behaviors that he's being called out on. Okay. So that said, let's look at this picture more closely. Summer looks like she's having a nice time playing with Candace. This is such a sweet picture. They're hanging out, they're playing, they got some toys on the floor. So I gotta point out that this is disgusting over here, really gross. And there's in many of the pictures, there's a ashtray full of cigarette butts. I'm sorry, but that is telling us that they smoke in the house. So essentially, and this is not something that that is my opinion. This is a fact that when you smoke in front of your kids are inhaling your smoke. It's secondhand smoke. It's not good for them. It's not illegal. but it's not good parenting. Sorry, it's not. I also noticed Babe Girl's teeth, and this maybe isn't the best picture to show, but she does appear to have what I believe is a dead tooth in the front there. Hopefully, it's just her baby tooth, so it's just going to be falling out anyway. All right, so I'm going to try to play this, and I'm going to hope and pray that it plays the sound, but I'm not optimistic at this point. Oh my gosh. Automatic primary monitor. Okay. Does anyone know how to make sure that I get the sound on this? Because when I play it, I hear it. My gosh, it's not even playing. So this one might be just a... Hello? How do I move this? This was a good one too. So I'm going to have to go to see if I can find it in my saved videos. My little gremlin dogs are going to bark, and that's just something that we're going to have to get used to, guys. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, my playlist, my playlist. Oh, of course, I didn't add that one to my playlist. All right, well, it should be in my description box then. Let's go here. In my description. Ew! Stop! Okay, there. I'm gonna like my own video. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if it's this one. Yes, this is it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm coming back to you to make sure that you could hear that. Um, yeah, it looked like mold to me, but I don't know, could just be dirt. Either way, it's gross. Just saying. Most people think it's a tote. Yes. Not a tote. If you look, you can see the front of on the blue trucks too. No, it's a tote. I'm sorry, but that's a tote. Let me be clear. Of course, all narcissists are not SA, but SA display narcissism in its most destructive form. Absolutely. Her teeth turned brown before they came out. Lack of good food. Okay. Oh yeah, trust me, I've been a little Googling fool. Okay, so I'm going to... Oh, I gotta change what I'm sharing. I gotta stop that, and I gotta reshare the right one. Share screen. Do. Share the audio. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Trauma bonding. There it is.
Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this series that is sort of like a handbook of terminology that characterizes narcissistic relationships and in some cases narcissistic abuse. This series is designed to shed light on what these things mean because a lot of these terms get thrown around in lots of videos and blogs, but I want to ensure everyone knows what they mean. So if nothing else, you might learn techniques that will help you manage your narcissistic relationships, as well as understand some of the patterns so you're better prepared to manage them. Today, we're going to take on the topic of trauma bonding. And as always, I'm going to ask you, if you like what you're seeing, please do hit the bell, subscribe to this channel. You'll get notifications as new content comes out. We put out content regularly, and that way you'll always be up to date. So let's talk about trauma bonding, a term that comes up often when we're talking about narcissistic relationships. So let's take a step back and ask the question, have you ever looked at your relationship and thought, if a good friend told me that they were being treated in their relationship the way that I am being treated, I would pray that my friend would run away from their relationship as fast as they can. So that's an interesting conundrum because you'd say that to your friend. But if that is how you are able to view your relationship, but you still can't get out, even though you would tell anyone else to get out of this kind of a situation, you may very well be what we call trauma bonded. The term trauma bonding pretty much encapsulates the entire narcissistic relational dynamic. And lots of people use this term. So let's make sure we get some clarity on it.
Okay. So, just to be clear, the reason that I am showing this video is to talk about possibly why Candace and Don ended up getting together and why they continue to be together, even though she, has alleged that she's afraid. She took out that order of protection initially, and then she took it back. Okay, so this kind of explains that if we're going with the theory that Don has narcissistic traits or possibly a narcissistic personality disorder.
Some people have likened this idea of trauma bonding to the proverbial Stockholm syndrome. Now, the Stockholm syndrome refers to this story in which a group of hostages ended up sort of falling in love with their captors. So, in essence, they had created an emotional bond in the face of the trauma of being held against their will. Now, frankly, more recent research has debunked the Stockholm syndrome as a thing, but the theme of trauma bonding is mirrored in some of what we see as sort of being the patterns or the top notes of Stockholm syndrome. This idea of creating an emotional bond to somebody who's a perpetrator of harm in your life. Now, trauma bonding is reflected in the classical narcissistic relationship cycle: idealization, devaluation, and discarding. Trauma bonding reflects the very tight bonds that are observed in relationships characterized by unhealthy patterns. And these unhealthy patterns include things like inconsistency, invalidation, devaluation, dehumanization, and chaos. In essence, the bonds are made even more watertight around the traumatic and cruel cycles of the relationship. It's basically like equating abuse and trauma with what someone is labeling as love. Now, as I have talked about not only in this series, but in many other videos, the cycle of the narcissistic relationship, idealize, devalue, discard, hoover, and then start it all over again, is very similar to the cycle of addiction. And in fact, the term trauma bonding was initially coined by someone named Dr. Patrick Carnes, and his work was very much focused on sex and love addiction. But again, it gets at this idea of the addictive cycle of an unhealthy relationship.
Okay, so just want to point out here that both Don and Candace have had, and I would argue continue to have, addiction to substances, whether it be alcohol, marijuana, and or something else. But we know that alcohol and marijuana have been a problem. And so it's not a far stretch to say that they could be involved in this trauma bonding relationship.
Now, in a healthy relationship, which someday may end because healthy relationships do sometimes end, the ties aren't as convoluted and twisted because they are not traumatic bonds. Instead, when you end a relationship that was generally healthy, there may be a sense of nostalgia and even a sense of gratitude for the growth you experienced in the relationship. You don't feel that primitive sense of devastation when a healthy relationship ends, but perhaps you may experience a pang and some grief, real grief, for lost memories and missing somebody. But overall, the overarching theme ultimately is often a sense of gratitude and grace for a part of your story, and you move forward from that intact. Now, a lot of that is also predicated on having a history of secure attachment. Now, trauma bonding is something else entirely. It often happens at a blindingly fast speed. And in that way, because it's so quick, it becomes easy to create the dysfunctional cycles of your past. Many people, when they are entering into a trauma bonded relationship, they'll describe it as intense and amazing and passionate and once in a lifetime and overwhelming. But above all else, it's fast. And then one would say it's incredibly intense. And the speed of these trauma bonded relationship plays upon another key element of the trauma bond. It's the repetition cycle, the repeating we see in the trauma bond. Trauma bonding reflects an attachment style. And attachment styles are set very early in our lives with what are called primary caregivers, which for most people are their parents. Early relationships, parental relationships that were characterized by push, pull, chaos, abuse, intense emotion, rejection, and cycles of idealization and devaluation and discarding can set the tracks for chaos and invalidation. This kind of sort of chaotic early environment can result in what we call anxious and or avoidant attachment styles. And people with those attachment styles can be more vulnerable to trauma bonding cycles as an adult if these attachment styles aren't addressed in intense therapeutic settings. Now, the quickness and the intensity of what are typically trauma bonded relationships are often mistaken as chemistry. And as I've written in books in the past, that thing called chemistry is actually familiarity. It's a new person's alternating idealization and devaluation reminds us of this early relationship we have with these primary caregivers. It's a familiar chaos. It's so familiar that it evokes something almost primal in us. And we mistake that dysfunctional early memory for chemistry. It's like a developmental deja vu. I've been here before. And the mistake we make is to call it chemistry and romanticize it. Now, children in trauma bonded relationships learn to do one thing very, very well.
I've never felt so close to the possibility of disclosure. The Nephilim, the giant.
They learn to justify their parents' abusive behavior, to keep
That's so sad.
secrets, to blame themselves, and to idealize their parents, to protect their parents. A child really children can't get their heads around the idea that a caregiver is harmful because it really kind of leaves this big gaping hole. If a caregiver is harmful, then what? Who is going to take care of them? Kids don't get to have a plan B. And so their sweet, beautiful little brains sadly have to learn to justify, rationalize, and appease abusive parents. That cycle can then potentially play out in the trauma bonded adult relationship with the person even thinking about it. It is that familiar that, in fact, to do it differently really would require some thinking. So these relationships are quick, they're intense, they feel like chemistry, they might even feel like magic. And the trauma bond, as a result, slowly gets thicker and thicker. Now, I'm going to use this to take a strange little sideline here and talk about slot machines. Okay, if you've ever played a slot machine, you're going to understand this. But slot machines can actually help you understand trauma bonding. Narcissistic relationships work because they are like slot machines. You know, slot machines where you put the coin in and you pull the handle, and if you're lucky, you win an award or you win lots of money. Slot machines work on something called intermittent reinforcement. It's a very fancy way of saying that you don't know when a reward is coming, and you don't know how big the reward will be. You know, sometimes that reward can be humongous. More often than not, you don't get anything. This kind of cycle, reward cycle, is the most difficult to unstick a person from. And anybody who's ever played a slot machine knows that. You play the machine, you hold out thinking, maybe I'm going to win on the next pull, and maybe I'm going to win on the next pull. A healthy relationship is actually like a boring slot machine. Like imagine a slot machine where like every third pull you get a dollar. You put a $2 in, you get $1 back. You put $1 in, you get $1 back. It would actually not be very interesting or exciting. It would be reassuring and it would be healthy, but it sure as heck wouldn't be addictive. Now, regular slot machines, the ones you see in the casinos, they just take our money. Now, sometimes they pay out just a little bit, and that's enough to keep us in the game. Sometimes they pay out a bit more. So instead of paying out, you put in a quarter, you get $5, and that really keeps us in the game. And one day, and we might see it happen to other people, They may pay out a ton, but most of us will never experience that. But we keep sticking around and keep money in to see if it happens. Because after all, it happened to someone else. Look, there's our picture. It happened to that guy. But more often than not, we put money in the slot machine and nothing happens. But we keep sticking it out because we think we're going to get the prize, the jackpot, the reward. That inconsistent reward is a key element of the trauma bond. The rewards and the occasional payouts a person gets in these relationships become the rationalization for the entire relationship. But we had so much fun that one time we went to Paris and you didn't yell at me for that whole day. And that one trip to Paris, that one little jackpot becomes a rationalization for thousands of days of verbal abuse and invalidation, a rationalization for all of the cash you put into that slot machine. The trauma bond means that for a person, chaos equals love.
Hmm.
The old traumatic themes of a childhood, for example, your initial definition of love, which may very well have been chaotic, are played out again. And once again, just like the child, you label it as love. Because this adult chaotic relationship is
Dr.
so reminiscent of the
Romani.
child trauma bond, you make the same rationalizations and the same
Yep, Dr.
justifications
Romani
as you did for your
is her
parents.
channel name.
She really does love me. He didn't really mean that. She had a tough childhood. He kind of does take good care of me. In fact, a big part of the trauma bond is something that I term the backstory problem. Trauma bonded people make excuses for their abuser. They make excuses for their abusive behavior around, for example, their tough childhood, or maybe a childhood where they were impoverished, or understanding that maybe your partner wants to prove himself to his dad. Or you'll say things like, oh, he talks without thinking. He doesn't really mean it. The trauma bonded person is very good at one thing, and that's gaslighting themselves. So, where do you see this link between narcissists and trauma bonds? Part of it relates to that anxious and avoidant attachment cycle that characterizes the entire addictive relationship cycle. Narcissists often are able to draw partners in with intensity, charm, charisma, and it often goes quick. The love bombing can be exciting sexual experiences, exciting travel, exciting concerts, lots of things that have nothing to do with intimacy. By definition, narcissistic relationships always require lots of justifications because without you making lots of rationalizations for this relationship, there's often no healthy reason to stay. You have to come up with those reasons because just as when you were a child, you couldn't step away. Now, trauma bonding can leave a person feeling like they're irrational, saying things to themselves or to the world like, I know this relationship is awful and unhealthy, but I miss her, or I still love him, or I would take him back, or I can't imagine living without her. Even while a person will acknowledge that their relationship was unhealthy or even abusive, this cycle of trauma bonding is why narcissistic relationships are so difficult to climb out of. So, what are you supposed to do? Because obviously, lots of people leave narcissistic relationships. I see it happen quite regularly in the work I do. And I know it's not easy. It's much more difficult, believe it or not, to leave a narcissistic relationship than it is to leave a healthy relationship, which almost seems paradoxical, but it is. So the question becomes, where do you begin? First, to leave one of these trauma bonded relationships, you have to acknowledge that what is happening is abuse. I have to say that when my clients tell me their narcissistic relationship stories from the very beginning, and the trauma bonding becomes very apparent to me as they tell me about their relationship, oftentimes the first time I make a comment that the behaviors that they're reporting in their relationship are actually quite abusive, they get quite surprised at my use of that word, abusive. It's a framework that they never even acknowledged. They never even thought that that would be the word that would be used to describe their relationship. But that's often the first step. It's that willingness to acknowledge that these cycles and that their narcissistic partner or family member or whoever this person is in their life, that this behavior is abusive. The second thing is you have to do the deeper dive into your own early attachments. And this does almost always require the guidance of therapy. You have to really look and see, can you see the parallel between the cycles that are playing out for you now and that trauma bonded cycle from your own childhood? And as an adult, part of the fantasy is that you might be able to master, to like grown up and power through that trauma bonded relationship that you couldn't do as a child. The third thing you need to keep in mind is you have to recognize that this is not a slot machine. In fact, there is no jackpot here. This particular slot machine called your narcissistic relationship is just going to keep taking your money. And in this case, in the case of a relationship, it's not just your money, it's your energy, it's your authenticity, it's your soul, it's your heart. The narcissist is really not likely to change significantly enough to make a difference. And simply understanding that will break you out and can break you out of the blindness of the trauma bonded cycle. The fourth thing is to judge the relationship in the here and now. And that means you got to jump on the mindfulness train. You've got to look at their lies now, their cheating now, their invalidation now, and stop yourself from making these justifications and rationalizations. When you do that, these cycles look a lot less like love and a lot more like abuse and a lot less like a project where you're going to rescue someone. The fifth thing is to make a list of the things that make you uncomfortable about the relationship and keep adding to it. In your weaker moments, when you feel like you're going to get sucked back in or hoovered back in, look at that list. It becomes a list of the abuse you have suffered, and it may help you sever some of that bond when you can look at it with more clear eyes. The sixth thing is you got to get therapy if you're going through a trauma bonded cycle. This work is best done with a guide and someone who understands both narcissism and trauma. Trauma bonding is very, very much to me synonymous with the cycle of the narcissistic relationship. Now, are there trauma bonded cycles that don't include narcissism? Absolutely. It's a wider term. But the fact is, trauma bonding blinds you, it confuses you, and it plays upon your vulnerabilities. You need to pay attention to those early, heady, and very quick days in a relationship. Intense and fast relationships are often danger signals that distract you from the abuse that inevitably lurks ahead. The chaos and the sporadic sort of rewards make these relationships a very dangerous sort of casino to play in.
Thank you, Dr. Romani. She's bomb.com. Very knowledgeable and well spoken and all of that good stuff. Okay, so let's get back to my little PowerPoint for a sec. And where'd it go? There it is. Okay. So, a narcissist would rather impress a stranger than be loved by his own family. But now, if you saw my video the other night, which I didn't have, which sucked worse than tonight's because I didn't add my audio. So there were many just like blank, no sound times. Anyway, they were talking about the video was talking about a father-daughter relationship, narcissistic relationship. And what that looks like is that, and particularly with regard to SA, and again, like this is speculation, but it is speculation based on what we already know as factual about Don. Okay, we know that 3 people have accused him of SA. He has admitted to one of them, but he explained it away. He justified it. He attempted to justify it. Anyway, so if we are thinking that there's a potential that this happened to our sweet baby girl Summer here, what the narcissist views people as are basically objects, okay? Objects to serve them in whatever capacity they need. Now, with a child who they SA, they view that person, that daughter or son, whatever the case may be, as an extension of themselves. So not their own little person, but an extension of themselves and ownership, really. So it's very self-involved, which essentially is what a narcissist is, right? But what I wanted to point out here again is the state of the home, stuff piled all over. And I'm going to say that I truly wonder if the people who are so triggered by when we discuss that maybe live in similar dwellings. Um, and that in and of itself, just, living in disorganization or living, in clutter is not a criminal thing. It's not, this terrible, unforgivable thing. But you can't tell me that it is good and healthy. You really can't argue that. Okay. We can argue about how detrimental it is or isn't, but you can't tell me that it's a good thing, that it's a healthy environment for a child. But the point of this statement here, a narcissist would rather impress a stranger than be loved by his own family, is that the narcissist wants attention, wants to be adored, admired, and they feed off of that attention. And really, that's all that they use their family for, too, is to be admired. Okay, so we already went over this one, and we've seen that from Don's criminal past and some things that people who know him, people who clearly know him, okay, have said about him that he lies, that we know that he provokes violence because he's got that past of aggression and those arrests and the prison stays. We've heard an interview from his niece Trish that he can never be wrong, that his only emotion that he shows is anger, and that he's very controlling. So numerous people have said this about him. And the people who have defended Don, quite frankly, don't know him. They're basing their opinion on the clips that they've seen on the news or on YouTube videos or on his Facebook posts. I'm basing my opinion on all of those things, but additionally, the testimony of people who know him. And again, I haven't heard from anyone who knows him who has anything positive to say. So let's talk about, how does a narcissist react when you call them out? Okay, so how do they react when you catch them in a lie? Let's see if the audio is going to work on this video. If it works, if you hear sound in this video, please put a 1 in the chat. I'm going to play it now. Okay, it's doing nothing, as you can see. Thank you, Skyzy. Okay, so we're going to stop that, and I already have it queued up in another window, so I'm just going to switch to that, and we will share the audio, and here we go. All right, so we gotta skip this And really quick, did I see Blackhawk? Hi, Blackhawk. How are you, my love? I'm so glad to see you. Okay, that's not it. Let me X out of there. Okay.
Why I like Grammarly is because it seriously saves so much time and helps me to work a lot more efficiently when I'm
Do you know what happens when you catch a narcissist in a lie? By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what happens so that you'll be ready and you'll expect it. Hi, I'm Rebecca Zung, top 1% attorney and the best-selling author of the books Negotiate Like You Matter and Breaking Free, a step-by-step divorce guide. And I've helped thousands of people just like you go from lives of drama, trauma, and chaos to step into lives of freedom, possibility, and purpose. And I do the same thing for you right here in these videos. So before we go any further, make sure you've hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so that you can be notified when I upload brand new content to my channel. Now, if you're dealing with a narcissist, which you obviously must be, or you wouldn't be here watching these videos, then you're dealing with a liar, because they are one and the same. Narcissists are liars. If you're dealing with a narcissist, you're dealing with a liar. That's just one of those things that it can't be pulled out of their personality. They just feel like they have to lie all the time to survive. Because remember, just to give you a little primer on narcissism, a little Narcissism 101, narcissists have no inner sense of value. They have to get all their value from the external. And so they get that in the form of supply, which is their lifeblood, their food source. And supply can be money and prestige and compliments, but supply is also controlling and devaluing people and gaslighting people and things like that. But they feel like they have to manipulate all the time. They're master manipulators, but the reason why they're master manipulators is because something happened with them when they were children and they were traumatized in some way, and they drew this conclusion that in order for them to survive in the world, they have to manipulate the world. They just don't believe that they can just get something by just asking for it, by just being normal, by just being reasonable, the way the rest of the world acts. So they feel like they have to grasp onto whatever they can to in the world, and they feel like they have to manipulate that. And so a big part of that is lying. And they'll lie about all sorts of things, which is the kind of crazy thing, because they'll even lie about things that are readily verifiable, that down the road, it's going to be pretty obvious that they've lied. And so it's pretty easy to catch them in a lie. So let's talk about the kinds of things that narcissists lie about. So one of the things that they'll lie about is they'll say, I promise that I'll take care of this. I promise that I'll do this. I promise that I'll be faithful to you. I promise that I will show up on time. I promise. And then they don't end up doing what they say they're going to do, or they don't show up and then they lie about what they were doing instead, or they try to get out of it in some way and they feel like they have to lie about it. So that's number one. They say, I promise. The second type of lie that they'll tell you is, it's not my fault. So they'll say, yeah, that happened, but it wasn't my fault. And
Yeah. So let's talk about that real quick. Who can tell me when our friend, Mr. Donald Wells, had this response, essentially? It's not my fault. Yeah, I did it, but it's not my fault. I wish I had a prize for the right answer. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Okay, time's up. Nobody? Okay.
and here's why. So you'll hear that kind of lie all the time as well. The third type of lie that you'll hear is, don't worry. And, they're supposed to make you feel better because they say, don't worry, they're on top of it, they'll take care of it, whatever, and then they don't end up doing it. That's another type of lie that you'll hear. Another way that they lie is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a huge biggie for narcissists. And if you want to know more about gaslighting, check out my video on gaslighting techniques. And we will definitely drop a link to that below as well. But gaslighting is, in short, just a way of making you think that you're crazy.
Yeah. This is the greatest response. All the time. Yes, he does. In the interview with Chris, absolutely. So, specifically though, and I feel bad about pausing her looking like that. That's not a good face, but it'll be okay. She's pretty. It's fine. It's just I hate that when I pause myself on a really bad, crazy face. Okay. So anyway, when he was asked about Trish and Trish's mother, his stepsister, he essentially said, okay, he said, yeah, that happened. We did have a relationship. So, it was as much her as it was me. No, Don, it wasn't, because she was 4 or 5 and you were 11 or 12. And then it continued throughout the years, and you remained 5 to 7 years older than her that whole time. So no, we're not going to do that. Oh, thank you, Black Hawk. I appreciate you very much. I do, my darling Black Hawk. Okay, let's unfreeze her. This is terrible.
So they'll say, oh, we talked about that. Don't you remember? You agreed. Or, oh, that's not how that went. Or, oh, no, this is how that went. Don't you remember? And, they just are saying things to you that are just not true to manipulate your thought process so that you start to think that you're paranoid or that the problem is with you. So gaslighting is another big form of lying that they engage in. What happens when you catch a narcissist in a lie? If you confront them, what are they going to do? Deny, deflect, devalue, and dismiss. Those are the 4 Ds, and we're going to go through each one of those. So deny. It wasn't me. I didn't do that. That didn't happen that way. Nope. Denied. Okay, so that one's pretty easy to understand. They deny it. Number 2 is deflect. Oh, it was you, or it was this person, or it was some other reason that it happened that way. It was because this happened. It was because I couldn't get there on time.
Okay, so deflect. I would say that Don definitely deflected when being asked about the arrest, when he got into it with Jose and Grandis and Candace. And in fact, he turned it all around. He was like, oh yeah, that happened because Grandis, well, he didn't say Grandis. He said Candy, she never liked me, and so she just told them that the gun was loaded. He said this in the interview, and he really blamed her. He's like, otherwise I wouldn't have even gone to jail that night. He also said in that interview, well, they were attacking me. And I just, I wasn't letting her attack me. So I basically, he said he defended himself. Okay. And yet, Don was the only one arrested. Just saying. It could have happened. It could have happened somewhat the way he said, but let's understand that there were 4 adults there, and 3 adults had the same story, and he had the only differing story. So, deflection.
It was because this person dropped the ball. It was because whatever. They're deflecting it onto someone else. It wasn't their responsibility. Somebody else had the problem, or someone or something else was the problem. Number 3 is devalue. Now it's your fault. You were the problem. You're the one. You caused it. It's because of your mistakes. It's
Okay. So another situation that comes to mind is when he really threw Candace under the bus, okay? And he made himself seem like, oh, he's this great guy. Summer would only go to him when she was a baby. He has no idea why she felt that way about him. It just amazed him. Candace felt really bad that Summer didn't, have that same feeling toward her. And what else? Oh, so, and then he was saying, I always had this feeling that something was going to happen to Summer. It was like my biggest fear. And so I always told Candace, make sure you keep an eye on her at all times. I mean, he literally threw her under the bus. He insinuated that she was not properly supervising Summer, and then she went missing. That is devaluing. Do you think?
because you were too difficult. It was because you weren't good enough. It was because you said something wrong. It was because you did something wrong. It's because you didn't do something right. It's because you did do something that you weren't supposed to do. Whatever. They're going to devalue you. It was your problem or something that you did that was wrong. And if you want to know more about devaluing, you should check out my video on narcissistic devaluing, because it's actually one of the stages in a narcissistic relationship: love bombing, devaluing, and discarding. So devaluing is a huge part of a narcissistic relationship. And number 4 is dismiss. They'll just dismiss it. Oh, it didn't really matter. Oh, can't we just move on? Oh, let's just not even think about it anymore.
Yeah. And that's what Don wants us to do with his whole past criminal record. He just wants to move on. It's in the past. Just leave it in the past. Let me go back to my PowerPoint really quickly, because I want to get exactly he said it's in the past and we'll leave it there. And that's, on the one hand, I can understand why someone would not want to, have that thrown in their face every day and whatnot. But there's something to be said about someone who takes accountability for what they've done. And he just has pretty much, nope, we're not going to talk about that. Deflect, deny, dismiss, and minimize is pretty much his game plan for any time anyone calls him out.
Let's just forget about it. So it's just like swept under the rug, and it's just dismissed. So even if it was something super hurtful to you, your feelings aren't going to be acknowledged. They're not going to apologize to you. They're just going to say, oh, too bad, and keep going. If this all sounds familiar, give me a true that in the comments. So just remember, if you catch a narcissist in a lie, the last thing that you're going to get is, oh, you're right, I shouldn't have said that, or you're right, I wasn't truthful, or I apologize, I'm sure I hurt your feelings, I'm sure that was awful for you. Those kinds of responses are not going to happen. You're not going to be acknowledged for, whatever they put you through. It's going to be some version of devalue, deflect, dismiss, or deny. It's going to be one of those four things. It's not going to have anything to do with them. And the reason why is because they can't have it take away their sense of self. They have so little sense of self that any amount of taking responsibility for their actions to them is almost like dying inside. It's like survival. So you're not going to see them take responsibility for those lies. They're just going to figure out some way that it's not going to get pinned onto them. So if you're getting ready to negotiate with a narcissist, go ahead and grab my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet. You will not want to work.
All right. So that is Rebecca Zung, and she is an attorney. So that's her channel there. And I did link that in the description. I am now going to show you some new, not necessarily new, but some photos of Summer that Don has just posted. So we're going to take a trip over to his Facebook. And we're going to leave this banner up here. Narcissists have no inner sense of value. They have to get it from others through validation, compliments, attention, etc. Yes, yes, he did. So, but here's my thing. Here, my point of saying that, Elizabeth, was that Candace has said that he's lying about that. He's lying about that even happening. So my question again is, why make up that story? I don't see the motivation for that. And I don't think we should speculate about it because we don't know anything about Hunter. Hunter doesn't have a criminal record that we can look back on. All we know from Hunter is that interview. So if we are going to make the assertion that Hunter is a liar, I want to know what that's based on. Yeah. He's a kid in a crazy situation. Are you in my head again? Because my brain is frying as well. I think I have to go now. You guys, thanks for hanging out with me. And I really, really, okay, wait, Ray, are you upset that I put you on blast? Here's what it was. I don't want to leave everyone hanging. There it is. Okay. So I leave you with that final thought. That has nothing to do with anything because I'm obnoxious. And I admit it. But we all love Summer. We all want Summer to be okay. And keep her in your prayers. And please keep. Hunter is not in a gang. Oh my God, help me, Jesus. Hunter is not in a gang, girl. Please, Lord, help me. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, back to this. We need to keep Summer in our prayers, and we need to keep those boys in our prayers. And thank you, Shell Bell, for that. God bless you. Thank you all for being here. No, you didn't say anything wrong, sweetie. God bless you all, and I'll be back again. And thank you for everyone being respectful. I feel like we did really well here just talking about this and not being disrespectful. I didn't, no one was calling anyone names. we didn't agree, but we had a good discussion, right? I hope everyone got something out of that. I hope that we can all send positive vibes and love for Summer to be found. Yes, praying for Summer, absolutely. That sweet baby. Yes, amen. All right, so good night and God bless you all. See you next time.